Just over 2 years ago, I met two professionals who quit their careers, hoping they could do just as well from property development.
Do you not think that you need to be a bit more with it?
You're not going to like
It's
these
very
side handles
80s,
then, are you?
isn't it?
It's a Victorian house.
No, I mean 1980s, not 1880s. On 150,000, you haven't got a hope in hell of actually achieving this sort of finish.
Their projects didn't give them the easy ride they wanted, but that still didn't send them running back to their old jobs. Tonight, I'll be catching up with Rebecca Lang as she embarks on her latest property venture in the swanky seaside town of Poole.
That's not a garage, that's a sitting room.
It's a tempting notion to jack in the job and start a new life as a property developer. But is it really the easy option? 28 months ago, I met two people who are about to find out. Former IT sales manager David Hollingworth thinks developing full-time is the way to get a better quality of life. He's pinning his hopes on this four-bed Victorian terraced house in Crouch End, North London. Ex-dentist Rebecca Lang also wants a more flexible lifestyle. She's bought a 1970s detached family home in Poole in Dorset. Surprisingly, this is one of the country's most expensive places to live, and she wants to cash in. With such an impressive range of well-designed luxury homes on the market, Rebecca's up against stiff competition. But what she's bought is this.
You've got a house which some people would consider to be quite unattractive, probably. I mean, I think with a mix of old brick, new brick, a bit of stone cladding, a bit of rendering, you've got pretty much every type of building material you could have. But it's got loads of potential, hasn't it?
It has. I knew that I didn't want an old period property. I was looking for something around 1970s era. I just felt that that was the ideal property to turn into a very contemporary looking home.
It's a good strategy. Going for a less attractive building and bringing it up to the standard of its neighbours can really add value. But this house is not only dated, it's big. And Rebecca's got adventurous ideas. The massive amount of work she's planning is not going to be cheap. Rebecca bought the house for £405,000 and has a budget of £150,000. She hopes to sell for £650,000, which would give her an impressive £95,000 profit. These are huge figures, but I don't think even her £150,000 budget is big enough for her massive plans. At the moment, the house has an uninspiring 4 bedrooms, 2 reception room layout spread over 2 floors. Rebecca wants to create an impressive designer home, and it will be almost unrecognisable. She's giving the front of the house the facelift it desperately needs, adding a 2-storey extension. The new extension will mean a lot of extra space, giving her 4 big bedrooms and 2 bathrooms on the first floor. Rebecca is also adding a whole new storey where she'll have a 5th bedroom and a 3rd bathroom. This 5-bedroom house should be great for the family market, and downstairs she's also got some good ideas. The basic layout remains broadly the same, but Rebecca will have a more contemporary open-plan kitchen breakfast room with a modern glass sliding door leading through to a revamped sitting room. As well as this vast living area, the big new extension will give her an additional reception room, making this one very large, spacious house, but with a rather unusual garage.
And this is storage?
Yes, it
At the
is,
moment.
yes. I'm actually going to put double garage doors at the front, so it actually looks like a double garage.
Right. You won't get a car in this way?
You won't get a car in this way. It's something I have thought long and hard about, but I feel that nowadays most people don't use their garage for cars. It's a great big driveway at the front, it's got lots of off-road parking, and I just feel it would be better used as storage.
I think it's a very bad impression to set somebody who's going to come and look round that they see double doors of a garage, come in and think, oh, we can't fit a car in anyway.
Yeah.
I think their initial thought will be, well, what else doesn't work in the house?
In a property this size in this area, buyers expect and will pay good money for a decent-sized garage. She could easily create one by simply changing the layout. But I wonder exactly who this house is for.
I'm thinking, well, if it was my house, how would I want to use the space? And I would actually want this as 2 separate rooms, but perhaps it's me being blinkered because I have so many children. Other families might not have quite so many kids.
Rebecca's risks are high. The stakes would be huge for anyone, but she's a single mum with 4 children to support. She's bravely sold their family home, given up her job, and invested all the family's savings in this development.
I'm looking forward to standing here, looking up at the house and thinking, that looks good, I've done a really good job of this. Let's hope I achieve it, hey?
Not only has Rebecca taken on a massively ambitious project, but I think she's totally under-budgeted. She's taking one hell of a gamble. And she's not the only one. In Crouch End, North London, David Hollingworth has quit a successful job in IT.
Just imagine this is my ex-boss.
He's put his family's life savings on the line and remortgaged their home in order to buy this 4-bedroom Victorian terraced house. There's a lot riding on it for David and his family, and his wife Christine is yet to be convinced it's the right move.
This is the largest amount of debt we've ever had in our lives, and we're probably the least solvent we've ever been in our lives, because in our household of 4, there's only me working.
It's paramount really that this project is successful, because we are looking to make this a major source of income. So yes, it's absolutely vital that we make a profit.
David's given himself just 8 weeks to turn this place around. A good strategy if he can pull it off.
If I could do probably 2 or 3 a year, which I know is quite a difficult challenge, then I think certainly the opportunity is there to make as much, if not more money, than I was in IT.
He's starting as he means to go on. He bought the house at auction for £329,000 and has a budget of £67,000. He's hoping to sell for £450,000, which would leave him with a £56,000 profit. But this means breaking the ceiling price of the road by a staggering £20,000, which is a big gamble when there's so much at stake.
I sort of fluctuate like a roller coaster between being very optimistic about it and then having a sudden panic in which I'm very, very pessimistic and think it can't possibly work. We've made a terrible mistake.
In North London, David Hollingworth has given up a highly paid, stressful job, hoping for a better quality of life as a developer.
I was hating my job, so I took a step back and actually thought, what would I do I really want to do this for another 20 years?
His strategy for success relies on breaking the ceiling price of this road in just 8 weeks. It's an ambitious target, so his plans have got to be spot on. This house could be perfect for the family market, but I'm not sure David's ideas go far enough. On the ground floor there's a double reception room which needs modernising, and a small dark kitchen with a loo and utility room at the back. In order to create a family kitchen, he's knocking through and adding ever-popular French doors onto the garden. But he's losing the loo, which in a family house like this is not ideal.
It's important to get a downstairs loo into a family house, and this is going to be a family market. And I think you can probably fit a downstairs loo in the space you've already got by making a smaller door to the cellar. The cellar is, after all, only storage.
The space under the stairs is big enough for a loo if David moves the door to the cellar.
That would be excellent if we could do that. That would be quite a good solution, I think.
It ticks a box, and people are more likely to want to buy this house than another house.
Upstairs, David's also forgetting his market. He plans to turn 4 small bedrooms into 3 larger ones, but he's sticking with only 1 small bathroom, which is a problem. But again, there's an easy solution.
I would be tempted, if I was you, considering the room proportions, to get an ensuite in here. Victorian terraces of 3 bedrooms don't tend to lend themselves to having a bedroom with an ensuite bathroom as the master suite and then a separate further bathroom. So if you can achieve it here, it'll make this house stand apart.
I think that would be a good idea. Whether we need to do that and the downstairs cloakroom as well. So
If you do both, you've got the ultimate layout for a family house, haven't you?
yes, I mean, it's a question then of the extra £5,000 to £10,000 spent on that. Are you going to get that back in the sale value?
So I think if you're careful, you could do them both for 5, and I think you will get 5,000 more. Extra bit of work.
Not only that, but if he's to smash the ceiling price, everything has to be right on the nail. If he gets the bed and bath ratio right, he could be in with a chance. But having given himself only 8 weeks, David really needs to make up his mind and get on with it.
What are you going to do out here?
I haven't entirely decided. I mean, I could spend quite a lot of money doing this garden up with new flagstones, decking, etc., or I could simply tart up the garden relatively inexpensively.
Do you know, it seems to me there's a lot of issues with this development where you're not quite sure which way you're going to go, and that's your biggest problem with it. You've given up a very successful job where you're paid a lot of money to develop full-time, and you need to be successful at it. You need to formulate a plan, make that plan early on and stick to it, because I think if you dither as much as you are dithering, there is a danger that you'll never quite make up your mind which way you're going, and that's a dangerous position to be in.
Even more dangerous is not to be around whilst work gets underway. If David really wants to make a living at this, he needs to be on site daily. Instead, he's taking 2 whole weeks out of his meagre 8-week schedule to go on holiday, leaving his builder and roofer to start without him.
I'm John, the builder.
Hello, John. Yeah, my name's Alan, the roofer.
Ideally, David would have been here this week. Some things, like the downstairs toilets and positionings of the upstairs cloakroom, the ensuite, will have to wait until he gets back next week.
By the end of the 2 weeks, the site is at a virtual standstill. In Poole, Rebecca Lang's project is racing ahead.
Hi, this is Alan. Nick and Steve.
Rebecca's decisiveness is really pushing this project forward. The roof's off, the scaffolding's up, and the new extension's underway. But she still plans to put fake double doors onto a tiny garage.
Having garage doors with no garage behind it is a fundamental problem with this house, and you're creating this luxurious contemporary space that doesn't work. Someone who's prepared to pay £750,000 for a house is likely to have a very expensive car to go with it, and I think that you need to provide the option of having a garage to put that car in.
If they've got the car to match and they've got the sort of money, then I think that they'll think nothing of taking down a wall and saying, I want a double garage, it's a high priority to me.
If somebody buys a newly modernised house, it's because they don't want to do any building work. So I don't think it's a very good argument to say that if they want to knock a wall down, they can always do it themselves. I think we're going to have to agree to disagree, aren't we?
We are.
And there's one other thing we differ on, and that's how much it will cost to complete a project of this size. I'm not sure she's done any research into what pool buyers expect in terms of finish and how much that all costs. It's time to see what the local competition is offering.
And the detailing on this flat is really what carries it, with the balustrading, the banisters, the kitchen, the worktop's lovely, and even the tap. These sort of finishes don't come in at 20, 30 quid or 200, 300 quid a go. You're talking about several £1,000s here, several £1,000s there, and to get that sort of finish, you get through money fast at that kind of rate.
Yes.
I mean, on your budget of 150,000, what were you hoping to achieve?
I think I was hoping to achieve this.
On 150,000, you haven't got a hope in hell of actually achieving this sort of finish. Realistically, you need to be looking at spending at least 250,000 to achieve the sort of look that the house warrants.
I mean, 250,000, that's £250,000. It's a huge sum of money. It's not as if you're saying, well, I think you need to spend just another 20,000. You know, £100,000 is an awful lot of money.
I think what you really need to do now is A, talk to agents about whether you can get more for your house, but B, also work out how feasible it is to find more money, because I think you do need to spend a lot more money. It's just a question of
Where it comes from.
Absolutely.
In this exclusive location, only perfection can command the highest prices. If Rebecca's place doesn't match up, she's in danger of making no profit at all. In Crouch End, David's back from holiday looking relaxed, only to discover that progress isn't as advanced as he'd hoped.
Yes, I couldn't really go much further than this, David, because obviously we don't know where the wall's going to come, the stud wall's going to come for the ensuite.
Considering David's livelihood is dependent on this project finishing in 5 weeks, he's possibly not taking things as seriously as he should be.
Do you think that that perhaps it wasn't such a great idea to go away just as the site was beginning?
Oh, I had a great holiday.
I bet you
The
did.
holiday was booked a year ago. There's no way we wouldn't even consider dropping a holiday. I mean, what's life about? It's not about work.
I think that's the thing about being self-employed. You kind of have to take the holidays where you can.
There is no way, I hope you'd agree with me here, with no way we'd ever prioritise work over that precious 2 weeks that we take every year.
If you're going to project manage a site and you're going to develop, you need to make sure that while the project's running, you're there on site all the time.
I mean, generally I'd agree with you, but I think, you know, it worked okay this time. Unless I was doing a very complicated development next time, much more complicated than this, I don't see any reason why I couldn't do the same again.
David's attitude to his new career is pretty laid back. But what's more, he still hasn't finalised his plans.
What exactly are you going to do here? You talk about some cloakroom or...
Yes, at the moment Christine and I are slightly in disagreement. She thinks it's probably not worth the hassle. I suspect Christine will probably get her way. She often does.
Really, the choice is up to you, David. I mean, whether or not you proceed with it
All right.
and go ahead.
It didn't have to.
David must make some speedy decisions. And he's got to think carefully about what's going to make this house worth more than any other on the street, because he's got some stiff competition.
Are you confident that you're going to get 450,000 asking price for this?
I'm reasonably confident. There aren't many houses of this size in the area, so there's a view that, you know, maybe a 3-bedroom house would get snapped up fairly quickly.
I found quite a bit on the market that's just underneath 400,000. I brought some details along to show you. 384 is an immaculate Victorian 3-bedroom house. 369, these are all newly modernised. The only way you're going to achieve a lot more than all of these houses, which are all on the market at under 400,000, is if you tick every single possible box you could for a 3-bedroom house. And that involves having an ensuite, which you've ticked. That's great, you've done that. Having a big kitchen breakfast room, that's great, you've done that. Having a downstairs loo, I think it's a mistake not to have a downstairs loo, because that's one box not ticked. And to have a really fun, cool, contemporary interior that you're not going to get with another house.
For the kind of young family market, yes, they expect a good finish, but at the same time they're probably wanting to feel they're also getting value for money.
They do want value for money, and I think that the problem is value for money is going to be one of these at under 375, 390, and to make them pay the extra 50, 60,000 for this house, you've got to offer a lot more.
David eventually decides against putting in a loo.
Size 12.
As a new career, he's now throwing all his energy into learning the trade. His decision to work as a full-time labourer on site is a good start.
My apprentice is doing very well. He's done excellent so far. He's going to have a little go at a bit of bricklaying soon. And thinks it's easy.
David's learning and things are speeding up. But with only 4 weeks left, has it come too late for him to meet his deadline? In Poole, Rebecca's problems won't be so easily solved. She's desperately under-budgeted and has finally realised the only way forward is to spend more money.
I'm actually going to borrow another £40,000 to spend on this project. Although it's a lot more money to borrow, I think it is the right decision. It's obvious, but scary.
She's decided she will up the spend. £40,000 is a healthy sum, but it won't stretch far enough on a project of this scale. In Crouch End, David Hollingworth is 5 weeks into the 8-week development of his 3-bed end of terrace. The inside is really starting to take shape, and most of the major work is done. But the front of the property has been completely neglected, and I think that could be a real problem.
It's definitely well worth spending some money out here and some time to make sure that this is a really attractive house from outside on the pavement, because as people walk up you want them to think, God, this really is the house that I want. The other thing you can do with Victorian Terrace is make sure that the front door gives a really good impression as people walk up to it. You're lucky because you've got the original front door, and I think if you put some really contemporary door furniture on it, you'd have a really good first impression as people walk up to it.
Well, I'm halfway through replacing it, as you can see.
Oh, are you going to keep it in brass?
Yes.
Do you not think that you need to be a bit more with it?
What's wrong with brass?
Well,
you're not going to like
it's
the
very
inside
80s,
handles then, are you?
isn't it? Don't you think?
It's a Victorian house.
No, I mean 1980s, not 1880s. A week's finish and one more day of building.
Yes.
I noticed you've got brass lever door handles.
Yes.
They look a bit cheap for this sort of development. And I think if you're wanting to get top whack again, it would be better to have painted doors and good solid door furniture that looks really chunky.
A straw poll of various friends sort of indicated a kind of bit of a split between, quite a lot of people actually like the pine finish rather, the natural finish rather than painted.
Do they live in the countryside though?
No, London.
And do they live in Islington?
No, we don't know anyone that trendy.
And are they kind of in their mid-30s?
Not really, no.
So they're not necessarily going to be the sort of people who are likely to actually buy this house?
No.
It's about creating an overall look that's going to get you the maximum price, and to do that you need it to be very 2005.
Right.
If this was my site, we'd be having a firm of decorators in for 3-4 weeks at this stage.
Well, I'm planning to do the decorating myself.
There's a lot to do for you on your own.
I'll do it.
You're an amazing guy.
I know.
In Poole, Rebecca Lang is still a long way off, but thanks to a bigger overdraft on her credit cards, she now has the extra money she needs. But the stress is taking its toll.
I have to say I am constantly tired because trying to fit it all in, looking after the children, running the house and running a development, it does take time and something has to give, and unfortunately it's sleep. I do go to bed very, very late and I have to be up early the next morning.
Rebecca's got her family's livelihood riding on this development. She has to be successful. In Crouch End, David and Christine have finished their development, impressively only 2 weeks behind schedule. They've turned a run-down, dated house into a desirable 3-bed family home. And whilst they were quite right to put in an ensuite, the decor may not appeal to their market.
I think you had a bold moment with your border tiles.
Sorry, what do you mean by bold?
They're very bold.
They look classic and Roman to me.
Yeah, they do not.
For a Victorian house.
One thing they don't look is classic or Roman.
Downstairs, the bigger, lighter kitchen with its doors to the garden is a great selling point. And it has a remarkably cool, contemporary feel.
It's a great kitchen breakfast room. I mean, this is a lovely, light, big room with doors out into the garden. That's what everyone wants, so you've given it to them.
Despite having no downstairs loo, the house is still a dramatic improvement, although the design may have limited their market slightly.
Well, this is a really lovely room, and I think the only thing I would say about this is that I think you've gone down the contemporary route, which is perfect for the market that you're appealing to. You kind of half went there in terms of the design and then slightly chickened out. The shame is that you didn't have the courage to change the door handles and light switch. I think if you'd gone that little step further, it would have ticked the contemporary design box, whilst being a Victorian terrace, because it is traditional.
I think those are such minor things. I mean, you're talking about 10 or 20 quid a door to change them. If someone really doesn't like what we've got, is not going to stop them buying the house, I don't think, and you know, they can change those if they really want to.
The ensuite bathrooms is a definite plus. Tiles may be a little bit heavy on the border.
It may have helped the wow factor if they'd gone a bit more contemporary.
Nice and bright, windows everywhere, very contemporary. Exactly what families are looking for with the French doors leading out to the garden.
Just generally, I'd have liked it to have been a bit more vibrant, a bit more funky perhaps.
Where there's potential for a downstairs cloakroom.
The brass power points along with the brass door handles are very old-fashioned.
I would value this property at £440,000.
I value this property at £450,000.
Now, we have had some agents round and they came in with an average valuation of £445,000. If you did sell at £445,000, you would make a £50,000 profit, which is a 12% return.
I actually feel slightly disappointed now. Obviously, when I started, 450 was what I was aiming for. That would still be okay, but now we've kind of maybe hoping we'd get a bit more for it.
At the beginning of this project, you were wanting a better quality of life. Do you think this has given you a better quality of life?
Not the last month. The last month, it hasn't given us any life at all.
I think if you average it out over the past 6 months, the total amount of work I've done is probably no more, in fact, probably quite a lot less than I used to do.
Yeah.
But obviously it's all been crammed together in this last month, really.
What would you do differently next time around?
I think I probably wouldn't send the builders home quite so early.
I think it's worth saying for the next one, it might be easier to be more ruthless, make decisions earlier on and stick with them, and be a bit more gung-ho, really, with your decisions. Really bear in mind the local market and what people want. And I think in terms of the style and interior, probably do more and more research. You've done really well, and I think that you've made a profit, so you're on the start to making this a career, which I think is all hats off to you as well. So.
Thank you.
And it's hats off indeed, because 2 months later, David and Christine sell the property for £460,000, making a £65,000 profit. They go straight on the hunt for their next development. In Poole, Rebecca Lang's project is also at an end. For a first-time developer trying to compete with the luxury Poole Harbour market, she couldn't have picked a less inspiring property. But 4 months of stress, long hours and financial juggling later, her 70s house can now hold its head high amongst its exclusive neighbours.
I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. I think, really, the house is unrecognisable to what it was. In facelift terms, this is a really successful one.
Yeah, I'm really happy how it looks.
Is it as good as you expected?
I think it's pretty much what I expected, but it's always reassuring, especially when the big scaffold hood came down, and then you think, yeah, this is what I wanted.
I noticed that you've got the double garage doors, but without a garage depth. Do you regret that at all?
I don't lose sleep over it. But I've gained other things. I've gained an office, I've gained some storage area. I just feel that any family that would want to buy this house, if that area wasn't there, they'd think, it's lovely, but where are we going to hang our coats?
And they might have smart cars.
And they might have smart cars, exactly. 2 of them.
Rebecca had to do something dramatic, and she has. She's turned an unprepossessing 4-bed house into a luxurious 5-bed with stunning living areas. The sitting room is now thoroughly modern, and the new extension means she has an extra reception room which will really add value. The old kitchen has been transformed into a model of contemporary living. Rebecca agonised over spending more than her budget, but I think it's a gamble that will pay off.
This is clearly where a lot of the money's been spent downstairs, because the finishes are top end and it looks absolutely spectacular with this gorgeous worktop and the staircase and the glass door.
I have to say I have splashed out on the kitchen. It has swallowed up a bigger part of the budget than I had anticipated.
It's exactly the sort of chic finish that
Yes.
the pool market will demand, and because you've managed to achieve that, you will stand the best possible chance of getting the best possible sale price.
Even though Rebecca spent £110,000 more than she originally intended, I think that this house is now worth much more than the $650,000 she expected.
Great first impressions.
That's an absolutely fantastic ensuite. I think overall it's a marvellous master bedroom suite.
Oh, that's a shame. Couldn't get a car in here, and that could put buyers off.
It's a lovely feature. Nice sliding door dividing the rooms.
Nice kitchen, good work surfaces, good breakfast area for the family.
I value this property at £775,000.
I'd market this property at £725,000.
I value this property at £795,000.
Now, down to money though, because obviously this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
As a gut feeling, what do you reckon that it's worth?
So if it was under 700, I'd be very disappointed. And if it was
Right.
under 665,000, I'd be in trouble.
We've had 3 agents round, and they valued it at an average of £765,000.
Oh, thank God for that.
So, I mean, that would give you £100,000
Yeah.
profit from this development. Does that make it worthwhile?
I think it makes it very worthwhile.
Would you do another one?
Yes, I think I would. I think I need to hibernate for a few months now and just catch up on some sleep.
Although she could stand to pocket £100,000, Rebecca decides to move into the property and spend some time recuperating with her children. As for David Hollingsworth in North London, there's been no let-up. He's taken a couple of months and he's already onto his next project. This time he's laying nearly £1 million right on the line. And this is where his money is going. A huge rundown Edwardian house in Muswell Hill, North London, that David is planning to return to its former glory as a luxury family home. The previous owners carved it up into flats, and restoring this property is going to take a lot of work, a lot of money, and a lot of nerve from David and his wife, Christine.
Christine was worried about the amount of mortgage debt we had, and I've gone and increased it even more.
David bought this house well at £720,000 and has a sizable £180,000 budget for all the renovations. He's hoping to sell for £1.1 million, making him a sizable £200,000 profit. And I think he may have the plans to do it. He's extending the kitchen and creating a 5th bedroom in the loft, as well as adding the one thing you should always try and get into a large family home.
Over here, we have the old tradesman's entrance, and that is a convenient cloakroom-sized room. So we are going to have a cloakroom this time. Certainly the house of this size warrants it, and there's enough space to do it.
1 month in and this project is going without a hitch. David is on budget and on schedule. And he thinks he's got some very good news.
I've accepted an offer on this property already at 1.1 million, which is at the top end of what I was originally hoping for and will actually make me a £200,000 profit. So I'm very pleased with that.
£1.1 million is hard to refuse, but the market here is booming and cashing in just 4 weeks into a 20-week build could easily lose David a lot of money. 4 months later, we're back to find out if it was a good decision, as the property is complete. Certainly from the outside, it looks like a very grand and very expensive family home.
Hi, David.
Hi,
How
Sarah.
are you?
Yeah, good, thank you, yeah.
Gosh, so you've come to the end of a massive development this time round, but you've really upped the stakes financially, haven't you?
Yes, I mean, it was more than double the size of the last project.
And money. Let's
Yeah.
go and have a look.
Inside, the house is unrecognisable. And there's not one bit of cheap reproduction brass in sight. Upstairs, the loft conversion is a real success, creating a 5th bedroom with views across the city. But it's downstairs where this property really comes into its own. The extended open-plan kitchen now provides a light and modern dining area, perfect for a large family.
So you've actually extended this quite a lot. You've taken out the side wall here and built this extension on the
Yes.
back. It's a lovely space.
Yes, well, I couldn't have wished for more in this room. I mean, it's come out really well.
And adding square footage is the best way to add value. And for the family market, you need a big kitchen breakfast room, and you've got one, so well done.
The real question is whether this property is worth more or less than the £1.1 million David has already accepted.
I've had 2 agents in to value the house, and one agent came in at £1.1 million and £1.2 million. So the average of those two would be £1,150,000, which is £50,000 more than you've just exchanged for.
They'd have needed to probably come up with a much higher figure than 1.2 for me to have really thought, well, I could have got a lot more money for it.
I think that you could have hung out and got a little bit more for this development, which actually a little bit on an investment this big is actually a lot of money. Despite all of that, this has been a really successful development. I mean, you've made £200,000, which is over a 20% return on your investment, so you've done really well.
Over in Poole, Rebecca spent 3 months away from the development game and is now well and truly rejuvenated.
Hearing lots of positive comments from people that have come to the house has actually spurred me on to think I want to do it again. I'm just beginning to have a look now and just see what's out there.
She's back in the fray. Now all she has to do is find her next development.
Rebecca Lang pulled off an amazing feat with her first development. She created a stunning property whilst also bringing up 4 children on her own. She made the big decision to move into the property, make it her home and recuperate.
3 months later, she rediscovered her appetite for developing. But it's taken another 8 months to unearth her next project. And this is it, a 4-bedroom problem property again in super rich Poole. While the handsome space inside has bags of potential, outside there's a huge obstacle preventing this from being a successful family home.
I'm really pleased with the house, really good proportions, but the thing that really lets it down is the garden. I described it as just fit for mounting goats, really. We're up really high here, so I do need to spend a lot of money on the garden, getting it sorted out.
Buying a problem property on the cheap and putting it right can be very profitable, but it's a risky strategy, and I hope Rebecca knows what she's doing. Rebecca bought this house for £495,000, which is a bargain for the area. Her budget is a healthy £202,000. And she hopes to sell for £800,000. This would make Rebecca an incredible profit of £103,000. and she's certainly learned about budgeting from her last project.
I think that my budget this time around is probably more realistic. Hopefully this time I've done my homework a little bit more thorough, and I'm confident that I will keep within budget this time.
It's week 1 of Rebecca's 6-month build. Inside, Rebecca wants to go all out for a slick, high-end finish. While out front, once again, she's giving the property a bold facelift to bring it in line with the designer pool market. But all of that will be a waste of time if she can't sort out the garden. Many developers neglect the garden, slapping down a bit of turf at the last minute. But Rebecca's tackling it early on, and as ever, her plans are big and bold.
I can make it into something a little bit special, and people are going to say, oh, you know, fantastic house, and oh wow, the garden's great too.
She's building steps all the way up, and with a lot of hard landscaping is making a usable flat area at the top that's safe for children. It's a gutsy move that might just pay off. And it's not just outside that Rebecca is learning to make big decisions.
Sarah said to me last time about the importance of a really large, impressive master suite. I decided I wanted it in the back of the house as well. I'm sure Sarah's going to be really impressed with what I'm doing here.
Well, we'll have to see about that. With 2 months to go, Rebecca is doing a great job of keeping the schedule on track. Once again, she turns her attention to the garage. But this time she's taking her ideas even further.
What I want to do is put a utility area at the back. I'm going to tile the floor, and I do want a radiator in there as well.
So it'll be nice and warm for the car.
You got it.
That you can fit in this time.
That's it.
Okay, that's good.
Rebecca wants it to double up as an extra living space. I'm not sure it's worth the extra money, but at least it's going to be big enough for a car. Six months in and bang on schedule, Rebecca's development is complete. The fully rendered exterior with glass and stainless steel additions have brought the house on the outside bang in line with contemporary local styling.
Well, this is absolutely magnificent. You've come to the end of your second development. I'm really impressed with it because you haven't actually made that many changes to the front of the house.
No.
But the transformation is unrecognisable, isn't it?
They were very, very subtle changes, but they were enough just to give that contemporary look. And I've got a garage that you can put a car in.
Hey, excellent. That's not a garage, that's a sitting room. Oh my God, that's the smartest garage I think I've ever seen in my life.
I had to impress you.
I'm very impressed. You've got a bit of a thing about garages, haven't you? And it is much better than last time. It's dual purpose. You can actually fit a car in it if you want to. Well, if that's what the garage looks like, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the house.
And it doesn't disappoint. Every inch of the interior has been beautifully designed and immaculately finished. From the two-tone units to the porcelain tiled floor, it's a masterclass in getting the detail right on every level.
This is really fantastic layout, isn't it? One thing that really works with this house, and did with your last development as well, is the flow of it. You really think about the layout.
I mean, that's something I've spent a long time thinking about and planning and trying to sort of picture how it would all work. I mean, perhaps it's designed by a woman who spends a lot of time in the home rather than someone just looking at a piece of paper thinking, right, we've got to fit in a lounge, we've got to fit in a kitchen. I've thought about how you would use the space.
Upstairs, alongside 3 double bedrooms, she's created a master suite that feels just right for the top end of the market. Complete with a striking balcony overlooking the garden. And what a garden. It took 3 months to create and is now a fully functional space that can be enjoyed by children and grown-ups alike.
The garden is really probably the biggest achievement in this house, I think, because that was the reason that this family house didn't work, and you've solved it with knobs on it. And what I admire about it is that you haven't been scared to spend a lot of money sorting it out.
I mean, initially I had budgeted £20,000, but I ended up spending £28,000.
It's really well worth the money you spent. It's fantastic, the garden now. So it had a big problem, the house, and you solved it. So brilliant.
£28,000 is a lot for a garden, but good developers spend the money where it's needed. Rebecca's managed to avoid all the problems she went through last time around.
How much did you end up spending?
Ended up spending £210,000.
Right, and you've had it valued, the house, haven't you?
I have had it valued, and that's come in at £800,000.
So that make you £95,000 profit.
Yes.
It's about 12% return, so that's a fair return.
My cash flow is tight at the moment, and I do need to sell this as soon as I can, like yesterday.
I can't see her having much of a problem. Rebecca bought the house for £495,000. Her original budget was £202,000, and she came in at a well-managed £210,000. If she can sell the property at £800,000, that would give her a sorely needed £95,000 profit, which she really needs, bearing in mind she intends to hang on to the first development as a family home.
And what does the future hold? Will you do another development?
Ideally, what I'd like to do is to do one development a year. And I think that fits in very well with the family. I don't think I could manage more than that. That would be very unrealistic, because the family, they do have to be my #1 priority, and they are.
It's amazing. You managed to pull off an awful lot of things. Well done, and congratulations, and good luck with the next one. Rebecca Lang is a real inspiration. She's managed to combine full-time project management with full-time parenting, and has created 2 stunning properties over the last 2 years. If she did manage to turn one of these around every year, she'd have a very respectable income for herself and her family.